Welcome to Backyard Poker. I'm Ryan, and this is another quick shot. These are short videos, interviews, and conversations on my backyard channel. Today I am joined by my father again, David. We're going to discuss more about Scoop. Now, Scoop is a game that I discussed in a previous video, and I'll leave the link to that in the description below. But my father and I had a conversation, and he and I discussed that there are a few more things about Scoop that we really should talk about. So this video today will get more in depth on the different variations of Scoop, some of the betting and gameplay variations, and other various topics on Scoop. So thank you, Dad, for joining.
You're welcome.
One of the things that my dad and I discussed was the version of Scoop that I actually showed in the video. That was only one version of Scoop. As you can see on the table here, I'm dealing this out exactly like I did in my Scoop video, where each player gets 4 cards down and there are 5 community cards. But this isn't the only version of Scoop. Dad, which version of Scoop is this?
This is Super Scoop. There are 2 other versions. Regular, which has 1 less card in the hand and 1 less card in the community cards. And then there's one called Ultra Scoop, where there's 1 more card in each hand and 1 more card in the community cards.
So what we're looking at now is regular Scoop, right, Dad?
Right.
Okay, so that's 3 cards to everybody and 4 cards in the center. And here we're showing Ultra Scoop, which is 5 cards down to each player and 6 cards as community cards. Dad, one of the things that we discussed was a different way of being able to signify if you're trying to shoot the moon. What was your suggestion for that?
Well, there's a number of ways that you can do that. Generally, if you're going to go both ways, which is what shoot the moon means, you can put 2 coins out and under your hand and then reveal it when everyone else reveals which way they're going. That signifies that you're going both ways, because you got a coin. It'd probably be better if you put a head up and on one coin and a tail up on the other. But before you start the game, I would tell them if somebody puts 2 coins out, that means they're going both ways. Another way to do it is to put no coins out. That way you're also telling them, I'm not going either way, I'm going both ways. And then the third way of doing it is just to say, you can put your hand out, but when everyone reveals your cards, just tell them, I'm going both ways or I'm shooting the moon. Any way that makes it clear that you're not going one way or the other is fine.
So I'm dying of curiosity. How many times have you attempted or seen it attempted when you've played Scoop before?
I thought about that for a while. I'm not sure I've ever gone both ways. And I'm not sure I've ever seen anyone else do it. It's just so risky. And sometimes you just don't have enough time to calculate what's possible in everybody else's hand, both high and low, and what you have. And you just hate to think that you could have gone one way or the other and been guaranteed half a pot, to find out that someone beats you either high or low and you get nothing.
And that's definitely a risk, because even if you tie one way, you lose it all, right?
That's right. You have to clearly win both ways.
One of the tips that you were talking about was having a guaranteed winning hand, depending on the type of cards that are either in the community or in your hand. So I'm going to switch to the table camera. And here we have a situation where player 1 has 5 points, player 2 has 17 points, player 3 has 15 points, and player 4, the dealer, has 23 points. And we have community cards King, 6, 2, 7, 4. So in this scenario, Dad, can you explain how the dealer should be betting on this final card that was flipped up?
Well, when you look at the hand and you see how many cards each player has, and that's critical. That's one of the critical things about playing any game of Scoop, is knowing how many cards are left in each player's hand. And since the dealer's hand, Queen, 8, 5, which adds up to 23 points. Looking around the table, he knows that 2 other players have 2 cards and one has 1. And so he knows that the best possible high hand anyone else can have is 22. If they both had 2 aces, which hasn't been turned up into community cards, he would still beat him because he has 23. So no matter who bets or how much they bet, he should either call and raise until all the betting is done, because he's guaranteed half the pot going high.
Very good point.
Now, and while you've got this up, this just happens to be a situation where the player with 1 card is guaranteed half the pot too.
Yes.
Because the other 2 players with 2 cards, the best hand they could possibly have would be 6 if they both had 2 threes. So the player with 1 card is guaranteed half the pot because he only has 5. So neither one of them could beat him. So he should pursue the same betting strategy.
So another way to have a guaranteed winner is to look at the community cards and what you have in your hand. So in this example here, Dad, why would the dealer want to be raising?
Well, if you look at what community cards are already out, the dealer has 2 of the face cards of the only face card that hasn't come out, which means there's only 2 other of those left. And he has 1 of the ace, which is worth 11, which only leaves 3 other aces available to anyone else. So it's not guaranteed, but it's awfully close, because the other person could have both other queens and an ace, or one of the other queens and 2 aces, in which case that person would beat the dealer. But I rarely see something like that happen. So if I was a dealer, I would consider myself probably guaranteed at least half of the high pot, and most likely all of it. I would call and raise until the betting was over.
Excellent. Now here's a scenario I've actually seen in a game before. I call this going against the grain. In this scenario, everybody most likely has a high hand. So somebody could actually consider, well, I have a few cards here, and I may be able to go high, but I don't think I'm going to beat everybody else. I'm going to purposefully go low because I think everybody else is going to go high. Have you seen this strategy before, and would you recommend it?
Oh yeah, this happens quite a bit, especially when not many cards have been discarded from people's hands. So it's a little harder to determine exactly which way they're going, and the fact that the ace and the deuce are now out and nobody has put in an ace or a deuce.
Yes.
Which might lead you to think, if you have 3 4s or 5s, even with a face card, there's a good chance that you might be able to convince the other players that you're going to go the opposite direction that it looks like you're going to go. And in this case, if I was a dealer, even though I had 4 cards, I would be tempted to go low, even though everyone else in the game would probably think I was going high because I had 4 cards left. But with just 22 points, whoever else is playing who is undecided might not even stay. And then if they do, they might not even win if they decide to go low. So this is a good example of some of the thought processes you have to go through when you're playing this game to finally decide what it is or what way you want to go, and also what way you want to bet. You can try and convince someone else the way you're going by the way you're betting, or making them think they can't beat you the way you're going because of your betting. So example, if I had just one card left and it was a 9 or a 10, and somebody else in the game had two cards left, and let's say they were a pair of 4s, they would beat me if they knew what I had. But of course they don't. The only thing they know is I only have one card left, and they have 8, which puts them at a disadvantage because, especially if I'm raising, they would probably think they didn't have a chance to beat me low. And that's exactly what I want them to think. I don't want them to stay. So if I can convince them by my betting to get out of the game, I win half the pot. When had they stayed, I would have lost. And I've done that many times, especially that's the advantage of having played Scoop for a while. People who aren't familiar with the game, for a while, you can use this kind of a strategy on them. Of course, once you use it on them once, they'll be a little bit less likely to drop next time. But that also can work to your advantage too, because maybe next time you do have a card that you know their 2 cards can't beat, so you're going to beat them anyhow. So there's some strategy. The key is to realize the possibilities of what they can have with the cards that they have remaining. And in some cases, you can have a hand. Let's say you have 2 10s and you have 2 aces. If a 10 comes up, you can go from having a guaranteed high hand to a guaranteed low hand, because you can go from 42 to 2. So there are some situations where, based on what you have in your hand, you're in a very good position to win something. It's a fun game, but you have to pay a little more attention to it than just playing stud poker, where you can look out there and tell, I've got a straight, no one else has more than could possibly have more than 3 of a kind. So, but I found the more people understand about Scoop or any of the variations, the better they like it. A lot of times in games that I've played where some of the players didn't know how to play, once they got the hang of it, Scoop became the main game the rest of the night, and regular poker kind of went to the sidelines.
Is it true, like I said before in our previous interview, that not many people drop in this game and stay to the end?
Right, because the last card in this can completely change your hand, whether you should stay at all or whether you should go high or low. And it's set up that way to keep everyone in until the end. And that's why Scoop pots compared to stud pots are much higher, because everyone's calling every bet and the raises, hoping that the last card will either put them in a position to win high or low. And then once that last card is up, there are players who know they're going to win high or low, so they're going to raise. And since you got a split pot, you can have one person raising because he knows he's going to win high, and the other one's raising because he knows he's going to win low. It's the people who are in between that get stuck then. And of course, that's the fun of the game, is trying to get yourself in the position where you can't lose. That's the whole idea of poker is.
Well, that is a lot of great information. Great tips for anybody who wants to play this wonderful game of Scoop. Thank you so much, Dad, for giving us your wisdom and insights in this wonderful game of Scoop.
My pleasure.
Start. Ante.
Grover having a very sad game. for Gerber.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
7 and 37.